Hello?
Hello? Hello, is this Mr. Ahmed Johnson?
Yeah,
Hello?
Bruins, I can barely hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I thought we maybe lost connection with you.
No, I can barely hear you.
We'll try to speak up as loud as we can. It's myself, Felix, and, of course, my friend Austin. Thank you again for joining us, sir. We appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, okay. I forgot all about this.
Can you hear us okay, or are we speaking loud enough? I mean...
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I can barely hear you, but I just cut the TV down
okay,
so I can make it a little better.
Okay, we'll get right to it. Just wanted to ask you how you got your start in professional wrestling. I mean, you were trained by, I believe, a wrestling legend, if I'm not mistaken. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, got to get started with Ivan Putski. He's one of the guys who really got us going in the game. And then me, Stevie Ray, and Booker T.
Really?
All trained together at the same school at the same time.
Nice.
You know, along the way.
Were you a wrestling fan before you got into the business?
Yeah, somewhat. Not as much as Stevie Ray was. He was like the king.
That is awesome. Yeah, I definitely have heard some stories of during Booker's Hall of Fame, that Hall of Fame induction, that his brother was telling about them growing up, and how he was definitely a big fan.
Yeah, he was the king of it.
Do you still keep in contact with Booker and Stevie?
Stevie, yeah, I do Stevie.
Oh, that's awesome. And what ultimately led to you joining the WWE, or the WWF at the time?
Well, I had a match a while back with Michael Hayes. Well, we was at the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas, and I had a match with the Freebirds, the original Freebirds, Bam Bam Michael, and then it was funny as I was walking to the ring. A fan, I didn't know, I thought it was one of the boys from the back, but I'm walking to the ring, and somebody punched me in my back. I mean, actually punched me. And I thought it was one of the boys from the back playing a ha-ha, is what we call it, in the business. And I turned around, and there was an actual from biker fan, tattoos, bald head tattoo from head to toe. I guess he was trying to show his toughness. So when he did, he hit me, and I turned around, and I hit him so hard, they said it's like a shotgun going off beside the Sportatorium.
Holy cow.
And he went out like a light, and it just completely broke his jaw. And I don't know if I did it or the cops that took him to the back did it, but one of us did it. And I got in the ring, and I had a real good match with the Freebirds. And then Michael Hayes told me, hey, man, I'm going up to New York. I'm going to get you WWF with Vince. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I've heard it a million times. And I'll be damned. Michael Hayes actually did what he said he was going to do. So he took Vince some tape on me. Vince liked it, and the rest was history.
You became the Pearl River powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to work with some of the great names in the business and become the Intercontinental Champion. How was that for you?
Well, that was even more special because it's not just Intercontinental Champion. It was the first black to become Intercontinental Champion.
Yes.
So that kind of had Well, it kind of had a double-edged sword to it. It kind of was a good moment, but a not so good moment on the same note. I mean, I was glad to become the first African American champion. I was glad at the response I got in Milwaukee, the whitest town in the USA. And I was very glad of that. But on the same note, you have to remember something. It took Vince and them until 1996 to crown a black man champion. And that kind of stung a little bit, And then, the whole time I was there, I went through so much racism, it was sickening. And then when I won the belt, somebody had scratched on my car congratulations, nigger.
Oh, jeez.
So it was a bittersweet moment, you know. It was a moment that I got to enjoy it for all of an hour before the ugly side of racism, you know,
reared its ugly head.
Stepped back in my face, yeah.
That's you know, you would think people would have some common sense. Be courteous. Come on now. Have respect.
Well, for me, yeah, because for a minute I had forgot, you know, for that one minute, here you are in Milwaukee and all these people are just screaming your name and screaming top of their lungs and so happy for you. You forget about racism for a minute. So if not before that 1 hour, I got to live free in America.
I bet that was a moment for you. And then, I mean, albeit that, however short it was, I mean, it was definitely something that, you know, I believe that it can be looked at as historic. And definitely people who look back on the Intercontinental Championship would know that and be proud of that. And I know you are as well.
Well, I'm proud because after me, I mean, look how many guys have got the belt that have been African American. I mean, it opened the door for a lot of people because you could have gave me the belt and I could have carried it bad. You know, I could have been out getting drunk, getting high, doing stupid things, and he probably would have never trusted another black guy with the belt again.
That's true.
But I didn't do that. I carried it. I made him lots and lots of money all over the world, and he was very pleased with it. And it opened the door up for The Rock next, and then so on and so forth, and it's been nonstop ever since.
I can imagine. Well, I actually wanted to ask my co-host, Austin, if he had any questions for you, because I believe he has been highly anticipating getting the chance to speak with you. Austin, are you there?
Hey, Austin, what's up?
Hey, Mr. Johnson, it's a pleasure to actually speak with you. But, you know, I was going to start off with saying, was there any particular inspiration that got you into actually, you know, starting up wrestling?
You know what, Austin, I have done so many, I want to say, weird things in my life, but I don't know if that's the right way to put it. You know, God has blessed me with so many weird opportunities to give you a few that people don't even know about. WWF didn't even know about them, and I'll tell you why I didn't tell about them. But one of them is in high school, I trained lions and tigers at Circus World in Haines City, Florida, with Dave McMillan from 10th grade all the way through. I trained lions and tigers, actual lions and tigers. And then from there, I went to the military at Fort Sill, where I graduated most distinguished honor graduate, which is the top of the line. That award comes around once a year, and I got it that year. Then I went to watch a friend try out for the Dallas Cowboys. I wouldn't even want to try out. I hadn't even trained for it. And this guy sitting next to me, a white guy named Bob Beckles, I'll never forget him, old white guy. He kept asking me, why don't I try out? Why don't I try out? I mean, I kept telling him, I don't want to. And the guy went and brought me some cleats and some shorts. And so I went out there, and I just go through the motions for him. And I went out there all sitting, and I had out bench pressed and out jumped mostly everybody in the combine. And then out of 200 guys, they only picked 4 people, and I was one of them.
Wow.
And then, wrestling thing, I really wasn't into the WWF for anything, but Stevie Ray got me involved, and he was my partner. We were we were tighter than brothers. And he kept bugging me out going. I said, okay, man, I'll go. So I went to wrestling school, and not really looking, forward to doing it. Boom, it happened again. So that's why I say, anything I've ever tried, also, God has blessed me with that ability to succeed in it.
Well, did you enjoy your time in the Dallas Cowboys? Did you enjoy playing with them? Yeah,
I did. I did enjoy it. I really did. But, I enjoyed it if WWF, if all that racism wasn't going on there, I would have enjoyed that a lot better. Because, regardless of all the race stuff that was going on, there was a few guys there that were real cool. That was fun to be around. But, going through all that racism there and stuff like that, that just killed me.
Understood. And you got to actually be part of, or get to work with Hall of Famer as well, Ron Simmons. Was he
Farouk.
Was he fun? Farouk, there you go. Was he fun to work with?
Yeah, Once we became friends, he was fun. Guys, when he first got there, I didn't know it, but his first day there is when they were going to give me the shot at the championship, and he was jealous. And I didn't. He told me this. I was on Mount, and I didn't know this. And he said he was very jealous because he had worked his butt off for 15 years, and I had been in business for 6 months. Mm-hmm. But my athletic. I'm just such a good athlete. They had to, do something with me, and he didn't appreciate the fact that they were going to make me the first Black Intercontinental Champion instead of him, and I didn't know this. So I don't know if you remember when he did that run out on me and he kicked me in my kidney, but all that was real. I mean, when he was kicking me for real, everything he had. And one day I asked him about it. I was like, tell me the truth, man. Did you really do it when we became friends? And he was like, I got to be honest with you, man. He said, yeah, I was a little jealous, so yeah, I did it, on purpose. I was like, okay. So that's when I gave him his receipt back. And that's when I took him and smashed him through them tables in that 3-man street fight with the Road Warriors. And
yes, I was going to bring that up, too, yes.
Yeah, it broke his ribs, and one of his ribs punctured his lung.
Why should he be jealous? Because, isn't Ron the first African-American World Heavyweight Champion?
From
WCW?
WCW, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, what WCW? Is that what it was called then?
You shouldn't be jealous, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some kings just want the whole kingdom. Some kings want the whole kingdom, and they don't want anything but the kingdom.
That is true. And speaking of the Road Warriors, you obviously got to get out there and got to wear the shoulder pads with the spikes and come out there for WrestleMania. What was it like to go out there for WrestleMania? The atmosphere, the getting to work with a great tag team like the Road Warriors.
Well, it was fun. Me and Hawk got along real well. We were real good friends. At the time, Animal was a little stiff under the collar. I think he was, a little jealous also that it was a guy that was bigger than he was, tagging up with them and who was just as mean as they were. And I think he was scared that it was going to steal some of their heat, which it didn't. It balanced out just right.
Absolutely.
And so, me and Hawk was real. Hawk's one of the guys that I was talking about that made it a pleasure to be in the business.
I've heard nothing but good things about him, yeah.
Yeah, he got his problem. Everybody got their demons, So everybody got it pisses me off when I hear other wrestlers talk about him in a negative way. Because everybody, trust me when I tell you, everybody in that locker room had demons they were fighting with. Everybody.
I can imagine. I can definitely imagine.
So it wasn't just him, man. It was everybody. They just didn't get caught. They just didn't get caught up in it like he did.
And I actually seen another person that people never really spoke bad about, even to this day, God rest his soul, was the late great Owen Hart. And you were out working with him around that time. You got to work. You had the pleasure of working with him a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Man, I've worked with Owen probably about 15 times. If you get in the ring with Owen and Bulldog and you can't have fun, then you need to quit the business.
I've heard they were classics at getting people.
Oh my God, man, they were beyond classic.
I guess you were one of them as well. I guess they got you too.
Ooh, it got me very good. I remember one time on the plane. Thank God, I wasn't going to sleep. We were headed to Kuwait, and somebody had put sleeping pills in all the boys' drinks.
Oh no!
And you know who it was? Owen and Bulldog. And all the boys start falling asleep. And for some reason, they put it in I don't drink alcohol. So they put it in drink, but I don't drink. And next thing I know, it's like everybody's asleep at once, which is weird. And Owen and Bulldog's the only two still up. I'm like, oh, shit, something's weird here. So then they, as I know, they go around and they start shaving everybody's eyebrows off.
Oh, my God.
Putting whipped cream on their heads with a cherry on top of it. And the stewardess like freaking out. And then the steward says something to think. Bulldog threw a fork at the stewardess. in a playful way, not hurt or anything. And man, next thing I know, the planes landed in London, and the London military police got on the plane, and they said, everybody with the WWF, get off the plane. And they had Uzis with them, all of them. Jeez. And then all of us, Sean, Diesel, Razor, me, everybody had anything to do with WWF. They made them get off the plane, and they kept us in this little area in the airport. And we couldn't get off this area. And then Vince had to charter like a 747.
Wow.
So I don't know who paid for that, Owen and Daisy, but somebody, it came out of somebody's check.
But now during the time of the Monday Night Wars, what was the atmosphere like in the locker room? I mean, was it as bad as they had said it was? I mean, was WCW really on the verge of really collapsing the WWE? Bischoff obviously did all he could to try, but ultimately failed. But what was the atmosphere like in the locker room during that time?
Well, honestly, just the God honest truth, they were on our ass and we were scared. Promotions were scared. Or they had WWF shaking in their boots, and if they would have just pressed on, they probably would have overtook us. But Vince, as much people say about him, and I'm disappointed in his racist views on things. But one thing about him, he's a genius.
Yes.
He is a genius, and they had us, man. I'm telling you, they had us under the gun big time, but they didn't know it.
And the WWF definitely kept everybody wondering, because what everybody was saying during the Monday Night Wars DVD and so forth, and that they were on the verge. WWE was almost done, but ultimately came back out kicking and screaming.
Right. Well, what WCW made their mistake at, they turned to the boys, and they started asking the boys their ideas. And then they had select a few that was running WCW, and they were taking care of themselves and not the talent. It was all about getting themselves over it, and they weren't trying to get the talent over.
Because you were also in that locker room as well.
Yeah, hint, NWO. They were worried about getting themselves over, and the show became the NWO show, not the WCW anymore, and that's where they fell off at.
That's crazy.
Because the boys that they had that were trying to take over in the NWO couldn't touch the guys that we had in WWF. It was a no contest rule.
Now, were you actually there? And correct me if I'm wrong. If I am, I apologize. Were you actually around in the locker room during the time of when they brought in Mike Tyson?
Yes.
What was did they have really high expectations of Mike coming in, thinking that it would bring in as much attention as it brought?
They thought it was going to bring in a lot, but it didn't. I think he got paid something like $15 million for a few little shows he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he made $15 million.
Wow. Well, during the Attitude Era, I'm pretty sure that was chump change to Vince.
Yeah, but it brought a lot of attitude up, you know what I'm saying, from a lot of the guys, which I don't blame them.
Yes. Austin, did you have another question for Mr. Johnson?
Yes, I was going to say, do you keep up with all the wrestling, that's going on TV now, or?
Austin, I've been watching some of that, and I got to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sorry if you're a fan of it now, but I'm highly disappointed. It's weak to me now. I mean, it's very weak, man. It's like watered down tea. I mean, there's no more, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm just being honest, there's no more Ahmed Johnsons. There's no more monsters in there. Mm-hmm. They're they bring in all, these, some of these black guys that tried to be Ahmed Johnson, like the Ezekiel Jackson guy. He's a good kid, but you can tell somebody whose attitude is manufactured and somebody who really just have intensity in their blood. And that's something you can't buy and you can't teach it. And I just had it in my blood from my life, the life I was raised. I just had a lot of intensity, and people love that about me. And there's just certain things you can't teach. And then it just, I mean, golly, the guy seems so weak. I mean, I got a 13-year-old daughter. I think she can beat up some of them. I do. I think she can go in there and beat some. But she's 13 years old and she's 5 foot already.
Wow. 5
foot tall already. I mean, I'm not 5 foot tall. She's 5'9" already, and she's 13.
All as I am.
Yeah, she's 5'9" already, and she's only a 13-year-old girl. And I think she's tougher than half the guys in there.
Well, what would you be opposed to her ever wanting to become a wrestler?
That would take a long conversation. I don't know.
Understood. Respect
Was
that
she
response.
interested?
Huh?
Is she interested in going down that path?
Yeah, she does MMA and stuff right now. And in fact, she won like 10 championships down here in Texas, and 3 of them were against boys.
Oh, she's no nonsense. That's awesome.
No, she's strong at Austin. She's done some modeling for like Cole's magazine and stuff like that. So she's gorgeous. I mean, if you see her, you think you would swear she was like 20 from when she's built and everything. But she's just a 13-year-old baby. And she's daddy's height and everything, and she's as strong, as an ox.
And I bet you're a proud papa.
Oh yeah, very proud of her.
Now you actually do get to travel around for the Legends shows. Do you still do that from time to time, or when was the last show you got to go? And did you get to visit with some old friends, or?
Lately, I've been this kind of chill. The last one I did was last year in Miami for WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
And ever since then, I've just been kind of chill. I've been working out, trying to get myself back in shape, and it's going very well.
Awesome. Now,
so I'm trying to do that because I got to the point where I was looking like the Pillsbury Doughboy for a minute.
Well, hey, it's okay. It's all right.
Oh, yeah,
we have our moments. We let ourselves open. What's that?
We'll be
that was just some fun, good living. I earned it.
There you go.
Hope we can see maybe a return of Ahmed Johnson in the future. That'd be awesome to see.
I will, man. You know what? That's my dream. That's why I'm working out as hard as I am now. That's the ticket there.
Keep on
well,
doing
after all these years, if WWE decided to come back and offer you a spot into their WWE Hall of Fame, would you accept? It may be a silly question, but some people would actually say no. And I've actually heard people say that. Would you accept it, though? Hello? Uh-oh. I think we might have lost him. Well, you can always try to call him back.
Hello?
I guess we got cut off. I apologize.
Yeah, someone will get cut off again.
No, I didn't know if you'd heard the last question. Did you hear the last question, or were we cut off before you got to hear it?
I think I was answering it when we get cut off.
Oh, it was about the WWE Hall of Fame. Would you consider it, or probably not sure? Or you don't have to answer if you choose not to. That's fine. How do you feel about it?
At this point, I don't think so.
Fair enough.
Because at this point, just to be honest with you, after all the stuff I had to go through, racial stuff, and don't get me wrong, I'm not even saying that Vince knew what was going on. Cause I wasn't a crybaby like the rest of them. I mean, I kept my stuff to me. I didn't go tell him that somebody scratched "Congratulations, nigger" on my car. I didn't tell him about all the nooses that were some coward would hang him in the locker or my hotel room door where, I'll go to my door and there would be a noose with a monkey on it that one of the boys put on there. I didn't tell him about any of that. I kept it to myself because I was praying I would find out who did it first and I could tone their ass up.
Yeah.
And then tell him about it. When you want to know why is Stone Cold laying in the ring with his face all busted open, well, let me tell you why.
I understood.
But I didn't tell Vince, so I don't know if he even knew, him or JR. I don't know if they knew at all. I never told them about it.
Well, there you have it. Well,
Yeah.
For that, you actually got to work with guys like, in the locker room, you had guys like Goldust and The Undertaker and Vader that you got to work with. Were some of them easy to work with? Were some of them a little stiff? Were they fun to work with? Was there one of those three or anybody else in the locker room? Who did you enjoy working with?
Not Goldust. I didn't like that. Not at all.
Understood.
I loved working with Vader and Taker because they were kind of tight too. They were kind of stiff, and they wouldn't cry babies. I mean, if a punch you punch them, they would want to punch you back.
Yep.
And kind of like Farouk, that's the people I love working with, and Crush, and Owen and Davey. And there's a lot of guys I love working with. But then there were some that was scared, like Steve Austin. We never worked together, but because he actually told Vince and them that he didn't really want to work with me. He was scared that I was going to be too stiff.
Understood.
And all this other stuff, so he was always scared to work with me.
And in the WCW locker room, was there anybody particularly that you enjoyed working with? I mean, obviously you worked with Stevie. Was there a team that you liked working with, or any individual stars you liked working while you were there?
No, the funny part about it, man, and I never thought I would say this would be in years. In WCW, the boys were a lot tougher. It was weird. I mean, not one of them would complain. Whatever it was, the Italian boy, whatever they called themselves. I don't remember their name. The bald-head one and the other one.
I believe weren't they the full-blooded Italians or something like that?
Nah, I don't remember. But the bald-head one, he was such a pussy. But excuse me, I'm covering radio. I can't be saying that. He was such, a weaker person. But the WCW guys, man, all them guys were like just solid.
Mm-hmm.
They were a lot of fun to work with, and they didn't mind, getting down for the crowd. Because the way I seen it, man, if you got out there, the crowds paid their money. Okay, I know we got to fake some of the stuff. I get that, okay. But then again, the crowd wants to see a little action.
They do. So
when you get in the ring with me, or Vader, or Taker, baby, you're going to get your money's worth. I promise you.
Yes.
And Farouk.
Yes, above anything else, they said that Farouk is a man among men. He is definitely one who is not afraid to take it, and definitely not afraid to give it.
Right. Oh, yeah, he will give it, boy. I didn't see him give it to a lot of people.
But let me see. I did actually wonder as well. Do you keep in touch with some of the guys that you worked with at all? I mean, believe it or not, there's very few that are still active now. I mean, with the exception of Undertaker, and I believe Triple H is still around. Well, he's in the office now.
Right. Well, that freaks me out too. I mean, what's going on? I mean, because I just started back to where I can work out and stuff, and I haven't lost too much strength than I had when I was with them. Mm-hmm. But I talked to Rikishi, Kama, and a few people I talked to. I talked to Farouk not long ago, and there's a few people I keep in touch with. And I talked to Bulldog's daughter and his wife, and I talked to Brett's wife the other day.
His current wife or his ex-wife?
His ex-wife.
Oh, Julie. Okay, that's
cool.
Yeah,
Julie. She's a very sweet person.
Absolutely.
And I told her, though, whatever happened, don't think it was just you, Julie. Everybody was out there doing it. All of us, me included.
Well, I actually, speaking of her, she did speak a little bit about her time with Brett and what was going on with the boys. So, yes, a little bit of that was talked about in her book. Also,
I didn't read the book. I kind of stayed away from it.
No, I'm just saying because I've actually read it, and, you're actually right about that. People, I mean, let's just say that I respect the wrestler, Bret Hart, but, I don't, for what went on in there, I don't respect the person. But that's just my opinion.
Right.
But that's just my opinion. But that being said, I want to actually turn it over to my buddy Austin. Did you have another question for Ahmed?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's people that talk about different styles of how people wrestled between WWE and WCW,
Uh-huh.
if you can, like, differentiate, what happened with the different styles of, like, WWE style from the WCW style, if there was, like, loose, more loose and stricter than WWE, You get my question?
Right, okay. Well, WWF style was also, it was more theatrical. And if you had hit somebody hard or whatever, they would go crying to fans, oh, he stiff, he hurt me, he hit me hard.
Yeah.
Where WCW, it was good because they didn't leave an avenue for you to go cry to anybody. And WCW, it was mano a mano. If you hit, Scott Steiner hard, Scott Steiner's going to hit you back hard. And it was just, in WCW, is more of a fight. You get what you give. When WWF, it was more like certain people are in charge, so you don't want to hit them hard because they can blackball you. And it was more theatrical.
Did you enjoy one more than the other?
I enjoyed with the WWF more as far as just traveling around and being with, some of the guys more. But to the wrestling style, I enjoyed WCW a whole lot more. If I could have took the guys in WCW and their toughness and put it in WWF, you would have had a perfect federation.
That's an interesting way to look at it. And some of them actually did make the transition over when the WWE bought out the WCW and the ECW eventually.
Right, and even some of them, I secretly heard some of the boys that made the transition, they were even complaining, like Goldberg and a few other people were complaining that they wanted them to be softer. Didn't want them to hit as hard or whatever. Come on, man, I'm not going to hit you hard enough to kill you, but I'm going to hit you hard enough where the fans are going to get their money out of it. Right.
Yeah.
If you want to take ballet, then you should win take ballet. Don't get
that's
a
one of
ring
the cliches
where
they use in wrestling. It ain't
ballet.
ballet.
Don't get in the ring where you're supposed to be fighting, and then you get into a fight, somebody actually, lays a dinner on you, and you cry about it.
That's true. That's very true.
Don't do that. And that was the difference, also between the two. WCW was tough, with tough guys, and WWF was more theatrical. They were more about the storylines, and I always call it a male soap opera.
That's what I call it too. Amen to that.
Yeah.
That's what I call it,
Yeah, because I hear, some people from WCW was from WCW and, jump ship to WWE, like Chris Jericho, and some other people were actually confused, when going to WWE, because the WCW style was more loose than what WWE was.
Whole lot more. I agree with you totally on that. And it took away, and you stop, and you look at old tapes of somebody like Chris Jericho, or somebody like, what's the forbidden names, and I'm not supposed to be saying anymore, Chris Benoit. I'm going to say that I don't give a shit. Chris Benoit, their styles totally changed. If you go and get old tapes of them, because in WWF they couldn't be as rugged as they wanted to be, like a triple suplex. You get somebody in WWF, they're going to cry and complain, oh, my neck is hurting, my back is hurting. Well, come on, the guy in WCW did that for years. And they didn't complain.
True.
It was just a different styles, man. That's why I would love to go to WWF.
I'm sorry about that. You were finishing up something? I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's right. I was saying, I would love to go to WWF and be like one of the coach trainers and get the guys out of this Cinderella storybook fighting they're doing. And you can keep the storylines. It's just that when you pay for pay-per-view, when you pay that $45 or $50 or $60 for that pay-per-view, you want to see some action.
Amen.
If you wanted to watch guys tap each other and call each other names and nah, you could have did that at home with your kids. That's the part that gets me, man.
Yeah, that's true. we mentioned the wrestlers and so forth, and a curiosity was working for Bischoff and working for Vince. Who did you actually like working for the most? I mean, you mentioned obviously in the aspect of wrestling and the two different companies, but as a boss, who is actually easier to get along with?
Well, actually, like I said, you know what? I wish I could answer that truthfully, but I don't know if Vince knew about the racist stuff that was going on. If he did, then damn him. If he didn't, then I enjoyed working for Vince a whole lot more than I did Bischoff.
Was Bischoff as much of a prick that they say he was back then?
Yes, and that wasn't no act, brother.
Wow. Because I've heard stories of how hard he was, but when he got to WWE, he was totally different. Obviously, he became just an on-air character.
Right.
Because he obviously answered to Vince. All the decisions lied on Vince McMahon.
Exactly. No matter who they say is in charge, it's all Vince's show.
To see those two hug.
And the thing about Bischoff was, what he did was he surrounded himself with the NWO. That's why they got such a big push. They were like his bodyguards to keep other guys off his ass, because there was a lot of guys that were ready to crush his ass.
I believe that, and 4 of those guys actually jumped ship to WWE. Yeah, I believe those 4 were definitely on top of that list, or at least very close to it.
Exactly, because you know when he took over WCW, there was nowhere in the world Chris Benoit, Malenko, and those guys shouldn't have been on top. They were the best working guys you ever will see.
No doubt.
Agreed. 100%.
You ever will see in the business, and they didn't keep them on top. They kept them in between the top and the bottom, just enough to keep them quiet, but just enough to where they're not really being seen, in the big spotlight and taking over. But those guys should have been on top of the game no matter what happened, man. And Eddie Guerrero, those 3 guys could outwork anybody.
Amen. I don't think anybody would deny that. Those 3 had they were passionate about what they did, and they showed, and they cared about what they did.
Extremely.
And did you get a chance to work with Chris or Eddie or even Dean for that matter?
No, I got a chance to sit and have a good conversation with Chris Benoit one time, and it was funny because you know me, I'm crazy. I don't nobody but's fear me, and most guys were scared of Chris, but Chris was the type of guy. He would get like when we go eat, as a group. Chris would get his tray and he would go sit by himself. I mean, and he would sit by himself. And I got my tray one day, and I went over to Chris Benoit, and I was like, "Can I sit here with you, man?" He was like, "Yeah, sure, man, sure, yeah." And we sat there and had the longest conversation, man. I mean, he was a good guy. It's just that he was a loner.
Yeah, that's for sure. He definitely
he was a loner. And, there's obviously there was shit on his mind.
Yeah.
As we all know, but that was Chris, man. He was a cool dude.
And everybody says that. That's why the theory of what he did still kind of has people scratching their head about what had happened. Most people would want to remember what he did in the ring and leave the outside world to what he did in the outside world. But it is what it is.
And
like you said earlier about Brett, you can separate the two. Chris Benoit, the family man, I don't know nothing about, but Chris Benoit, the performer, I know a lot about, and he was a good guy. I can't speak for Chris Benoit, the other man. I don't know.
Agreed.
I mean, no matter
that
what anybody.
Was great. Yeah. What was that, Austin? Go ahead.
I'm saying no matter what anybody says about Chris, or always dogging on him, he will always be an inspiration to me. And I mean, many people actually appreciated what he did in the ring, and he was a phenomenal person in wrestling the ring and stuff. And honestly, I don't believe he did what he did, but that's just me. I mean, other people have their opinions.
Right, and you know also, I mean, and you can do that in a respectful way. It's not like you're gonna go out and kill somebody tomorrow, you know. But you could still idolize a man that Chris Benoit, a performer, and the way he wrestled and the way he worked and his work ethic. What's wrong with idolizing that?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Exactly. But you know, I find that most people that talk shit about it and talk shit about that are usually the people that are losers in life anyway. They couldn't understand that man's work ethic and what he did if you wrote in a fucking book and shoved it down their heads.
And all the evidence of how good he was in the ring is all on tape and stuff like that. And people still, no matter how much tape they'll see, are going to think one way no matter what.
Please, you know, I would put Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko as a tag team up against anybody in the world. Anybody in the world. And dare you to match move for move and stamina with them. I dare you.
That's true. That is very true. Well, I actually wanted to ask you, Mr. Johnson, if you're okay. We actually do have two callers on the line. Would you mind taking a couple of calls from the fans?
No, go right ahead, man.
All right, I'll bring one on. Looks like it's our buddy Joey. Let me see if that's him here. Hello, you're on the air with former WWF superstar Ahmed Johnson. Did you have a question for him?
Yo!
What's up, bud?
Hey, how's it going, Ahmed?
Hey, I can't complain.
Man, I can't believe I'm talking to one of the, good wrestlers, you know, mid-carders in the WWF when it was the Attitude Era. It's a pleasure.
So what's your question for him?
All right. How does it, did you like the whole story with the Harlem Heat 2000?
Do what now? How did it get started?
Did you like how the story with Harlem Heat 2000? Did you enjoy doing that? Was it fun? Was it not fun?
I did, but I didn't. I did because they caught me off guard. I was not planning on coming back that soon. That's why I was eating like a pig and enjoying myself. And all of a sudden I got a call, and you get a call from Steve Ray. They said we were like brothers, man. Yeah. And he called me and said, "Man, I need you." Him and Booker T actually did have some heat with each other at that time. So
really?
Seriously, for real heat, yeah. And they really were about to break up. And he was like, first I told him, "No, man, come on, man, don't do this." He's like, "Man, I need you. I wouldn't call you if I need you." I'm like, "Shit." And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna tell him no. This is my brother."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, man, I'll do it." And so yeah, I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it. If they gave me time to get in shape, I would have enjoyed it.
Oh, I see. Huh. All right. Well,
they caught me off guard.
Yeah. I got one more question.
Go for it.
Did you ever think that you would ever get like a WWF title push?
What now?
Did you ever think that you'd actually get a WWF title push or the title reign that you had?
Oh yeah, I did. I thought I should have got the bigger title.
I agree with you on that.
Terry, because I don't think that. For people know and people knew, I really think nobody that could have really beat me, and that's why Vince put the whole nation up against one man. Because even Vince made the comment that with your style and your look, I can't make it. People believe that you can be beat, so we put me up against the whole nation.
No.
Damn.
You know, I would have loved to see you be as at least a WWF champion. You know, yeah, I think that you deserved it.
I was hoping for it.
Yeah, and I really liked that match you did with Rocky Maivia too.
Huh?
Like I said, I really liked that match. I really liked the match you did with Rocky Maivia.
Oh yeah, we had our we'll go rounds, yeah.
Yeah, you guys had some good matches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Joey, I appreciate you calling in, bud. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, when you're a second generation wrestler, man, you basically got it made.
Yeah. But then, sometimes you'll get hurt by that. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
So they expect you to be your father.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll expect to get up the ladder, and some of them don't. Some of them just fall down, and and then they can't get out of the shadow of their dad.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very true. Well, I appreciate you calling in, Joey. Did you want to hang tight and listen in for the rest of the show?
Oh yeah, you betcha.
All right, thank you.
All right, Joey. Catch you later, man.
All right, nice talking to you, Ahmed Johnson. It's been a pleasure.
All right, Joe. Be easy, babe.
All right, thank you.
All righty, that was awesome. And we'll do one more, and you okay with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All righty, here we go. Hello, you're on the air with former WWF superstar Ahmed Johnson. Did you have a question for him?
I actually have two.
Please go ahead.
Nice to talk to you, Mr. Johnson.
How you doing?
Hi, Felix. Hi, Austin. It's Jagger.
Hello.
By the way, I was just curious. Have you ever thought about opening a wrestling school and teaching everybody the proper way of everything that you learned through WWF and WCW and through all the independent scene before you actually got where you are?
I've been thinking about it, yes. Especially after watching recent WWF shows. I see how badly it's needed.
Yes,
I agree with you there. Second question, do you have any advice for any of the guys that are trying to make it in the business, like myself, for instance?
There you go.
What I give guys trying to make it in the business, what I can tell you first of all is get your character and your gimmick. Don't keep switching it up just to whatever you think people want to see. Stick to one gimmick, okay? And make sure it's a gimmick that's going to stand out away from everybody else's. And the best way to do that is to think about yourself. Okay, look yourself in the mirror. Think about some of the things you like, some of the things you've been through in life, okay? And you add that into your character, okay? And you'll find out, once you start being true to yourself, honestly, your character is going to take on a monster all of its own.
I appreciate
and
that.
That's the character you stick with.
So far, I'm down that path, and I'm going there. Thank you so much. I actually met you in Salt Lake City, Utah, a long time ago. It was my first WWE show. My dad, yeah, it took like 3 hours trying to find you at it was like the Southtown Mall, and I was like the last person in line, and you were about to go, and I was a little boy, and I was like, Mr. Johnson, please, and, you came back, and you actually, let me meet you and everything like that, and
I'm glad it did,
sir.
man.
It was an honor.
That's one thing about it too, bro. That you do too. Once you make it to the top, never ever. And I don't care who you talk to. That the fan of mine that ever met me, one thing they would tell you. I never shunned them off. I never shunned the fan off, because the way I see it was, me signing an autograph for you, all I was doing was signing my paycheck. Because if it wasn't for you guys, who would we be? Shawn Michaels would be working at Burger King. The Undertaker would probably be working at a car wash. I probably would be a police officer beating up people somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't for the fans, there would be no us. And the boys, it pisses me off that the boys don't realize that enough. They think that this is me. I'm this person, and I'm too good for the regular people now. There's nothing that will burn my gut more than that.
The indie scene does that quite a bit. Talking
the
about
indie
getting
scene?
your car keyed. Yeah, about getting your car keyed and everything like that. I was actually in a show and my car actually got keyed as well after I won the championship. So I kind of know exactly what you went through at that moment.
Yeah, what I went to Dolphins was a little more personal because it was racial, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I didn't put in mind there to key the card and say, congratulations, Tony, you asshole, okay? That's the way you feel about me, the way you feel about me. But to, use racial slurs and doing it, And it's separate because the hardest black, we had to work to get where we had gotten in professional wrestling, and to finally get a shot at the title in 1996, bro. We're not too far removed from '96. Every sport had integrated. Even golf had integrated by then. Everybody except for WWF had held out about crowning a black man with a title. And then they finally did it, and you're happy. You feel like Jackson Robinson broke the race barrier, and then go outside and see that shit, man. Brother, that feeling there is, I don't know, it just kills you.
I agree. One more question before I get gone. If you ever had an opportunity to actually work with midgets and travel the world, would you give up working in the ring to actually do that? Like, I actually got offered to work for Hulk Hogan's Micro and Extreme Midget Wrestling, and I was curious from your opinion. I've asked future guys that have been in the business, and they just tell me, do what's best for you.
And what would you be doing?
I would be pretty much bumping and then basically reffing a lot and then working when they ever have other guys in, because they would have a 20x20 or a 12x12 ring that I've actually bumped in before previously.
You just be careful with that, man, because this business is a very funny business. It's not very kind, man. Not very kind.
I realize that so far.
Yeah, so no, I mean, it's not something right now, at the stage you're at. No, I wouldn't chance it right now. Just keep going on the path you're going, man, and just keep being yourself, and just try to stand out from everybody else. That's what's going to make you special. And somebody WWF take a look at. They look at characters that are different from other characters. Your wrestling style, the way you look. Do something like that, and there's a chance you may make it. But as far as doing that bump stuff, I don't know. I wouldn't do it.
Okay, thank you for the advice, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Is this Jagger?
Yes, this is Jagger.
That's what I thought. I thought I recognized the voice. Actually, this is for those listening in. This is our former our guest from last week calling in. He's actually an independent wrestling superstar from Salt Lake City. That's too funny. Thanks again for calling in, pal. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. I just wanted to talk to Ahmed and tell him thank you for letting me meet him when I was a kid and everything.
Hey, brother, you're welcome, man. Glad I was able to do it.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome. Thanks for calling in again, man. All righty.
Thank you all.
That was cool. It's always nice to interact with the fans, and you said it best. You never forget about your fans. And no matter how tired you might be, you said it. Without the fans, a lot of the guys wouldn't be who they are today.
You know what's sad about it, though, bro? 99% of them do forget about them.
Bringing that part up, I actually read. Now, what are your thoughts on Bob Holly? Did you ever work with him?
Yeah, I didn't work with him. I don't know if you remember when the Gold Dust Kiss thing came on, yes. And Bob Holly was downstairs trying to stop me from going to the room, and I picked him up with one hand by his throat.
Yes.
That's as far as I never got to work with him in the ring, no.
Because he had actually mentioned that it is actually that the way the locker room was run back then is if you had to watch out for a certain group, no names mentioned. That
the Click. I'll mention
I'll let you mention it. That it tended to be ran by them, and you didn't want to get crosshairs with them, otherwise you'd be in trouble.
Right.
And he wrote a hell of a book, and if you get a chance to read that, it definitely told a lot about what went on. I mean, obviously you were there, but that book was just amazing. He didn't leave anything. He was brutally honest about working there and not being given the opportunity. He worked hard. He was there 15 years.
He deserved it too, brother.
He was a hard worker, and he said it just like you did right there, in the sense that if you're going to give it, you damn sure better know how to take it.
Yep.
And he was one to love to dish it out.
He was one of them that was a good worker, man, and he had a good look to him, and he never got pushed. It's because Sean, Triple H, Diesel and the rest of the clique didn't want him to get pushed. That's the only reason why he didn't get pushed, because he didn't fall into the clique.
That's definitely what I read in the book. You didn't.
So
I didn't even have to tell you what was in the book. You already knew.
You say Ahmed Johnson said it. I didn't tell you. You didn't say it. Ahmed Johnson said it. They got a problem, contact me.
That's cool, man. I respect your honesty.
Give my number. So my number is 444 eat shit. They can call toll free.
Now, speaking of, we'll move away from the WWE at this point, and if you look at TNA wrestling, have you caught them at all? Have you seen them? And
yeah, I've watched a little bit of it.
What are your thoughts about them?
I think they're you know what? It's they're the same thing we talked about before, where you got tough guys, but if they were with the WWF, they could put on a hell of a show.
True.
I don't think they have the backing TNA that is needed to compete with the big dog right now.
That's true.
But they seem to have some pretty tough-ass guys on there. Huh?
They definitely did give it a shot a couple years back when Hogan and Bischoff first jumped over there. They tried to put the shows on Monday night. It didn't work.
Yeah, I think they tried to slate the Dragon too soon.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they tried to go on Monday night right away and jump. You can't do that, man. It takes years to build up an audience and a following to where you can jump up there against Vince. That's why WCW couldn't do it. It takes a while. Build your audience up slow. Build your following up. Get a cult following going. Then you can go up against them. But the way they try to just jump in and now we're going to slay the giant, that was some egos. That was Hulk Hogan and Bischoff's ego once again getting in the way of other guys' production.
Fair enough. That's fair enough, definitely. How do you feel about the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania? What are your thoughts about Undertaker? He's definitely a man who's garnered respect from everybody in the locker room.
He does, because he doesn't bother anybody. He sticks to himself. He's a cool dude, man, behind the scenes, and that's just Taker, man. That's just Taker.
I know he's coming up to another WrestleMania. No, understood. He's coming up to his next WrestleMania, and later next year, we'll see. There's always questions of whether or not he's going to compete or not, and he ends up coming in and killing it. No matter how old he gets, the man's almost 50 years old. Mm-hmm. He still puts on a hell of a show, almost better than some of the people on the roster today, if not probably all of them.
Exactly. I think it gets to a point, man, where just like the UFC with Silva, they're going to a point where if you're undefeated, take your crown and run and keep it that way. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Because eventually Vince is going to want somebody to dethrone you. I'm telling you that right now. If I was him, I would take my crown. I'm undefeated in WrestleMania, the only undefeated WrestleMania, and leave it. Now you got a legend. Now you got, something worthy of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I'm telling you, he's going to get buried.
And my final question for you, before I do that, I wanted to ask you, Austin, did you have any more questions for him, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, going back to WCW for a second, I wanted to ask you if you were there for the last show.
No, I wasn't there for the last show.
Oh, okay.
I don't even remember the last show.
I was just wondering because, when Shane McMahon, WWE bought WCW, I was just, I thought you were
on. That shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I remember that. No, I wasn't there for that, thank God. No,
I actually, as far as my question goes, I wanted to ask you, since we were just speaking of The Undertaker, and what was it like working with Paul Bearer? I know he was around during the time you were there as well, and we lost him. Was he hard to work with?
He was, Paul Bearer is a Alabama kid, you could say. He's an Alabama boy. He still has those old racist Alabama ways about him, you know, before he passed away. And I didn't associate with him, man.
Understood.
Honestly, that much at all.
Understood. And
I know a lot of people mad at me saying that, but you asked me a question, I'm going to answer truthfully.
No, I expect you to, and that's I.
No, I know you do. No, I'm not talking to fans. You know, they're going to be kind of pissed off about that, but like I always tell them, hey, if you don't want the truth, then don't call me.
You know, and that's true. You don't sugarcoat it, and if those can't take it, then they shouldn't listen. But one last thing, I wasn't sure if I mentioned it before. I'm not sure if you were there in the time before Randy left or during the time he was in WCW. Did you get a chance to work with Randy and Liz? Randy Savage and Elizabeth?
Not Liz. Randy. I met both. But yeah, Randy Munson, man, I did, man. You talking about a cool-ass dude, man.
I've heard that. I've heard he is an awesome guy to talk to and hang out with.
He is, bro. You know that, oh, yeah, he's in the clouds. That was for real. That wasn't no joke. He was in the clouds all the time. Randy was in the clouds all the time, brother. I guarantee you, he went to heaven happy.
He did. I think
he was happy down here. Oh, I know he was.
He wasn't miserable. That's for sure. He was.
Man.
He was happy in his life. He was happy. He didn't have to be. You know, I think if he ever was going to decide to come back for any reason at all, it would be for the fans. Because it did appear that he was considering making a comeback to the Hall of Fame maybe one day, and sadly we lost him.
He fed off the fans too. He's kind of like me. The boys don't do it for me. I don't feed off no boys. Like I said, I never looked up to any man. The only man I ever came close to looking up to respect is Pat Tillman. I don't know if you guys know who Pat Tillman is, but he said, "You need to look him up, man. You want to see what a true man is." And the only man Ahmed Johnson ever said he looked up to was Pat Tillman. And yeah, but Randy was like me. He fed off the fans, man. Everything we did was for the fans. And without the fans, we give a shit less about the players in the game. I'd rather just break one of their necks than to look at them twice. I did what I did for my fans.
Was he as intense in the ring as he was in the back?
No, when he was in the ring,
but in the back, was he that intense? Let me rephrase that.
Yeah, he was just a mellow type of guy that if you take his voice and put his voice in your head and imagine what it took to have that voice, that's what Randy was. Happy and everything was all right. It could have been a hurricane coming his way, and he would have been all right with it. Oh, yeah, brother.
That was his normal
That's how
voice. He always talked like with that, that
yeah,
voice
he had that rasp to his voice.
That was all the time?
Yeah, he always had a rasp to his voice. But he walked it like he talked it, man. What you see is what you got.
I believe that. But
he was cool, man. Hey, man, before we get off, let me tell you guys, too, tell the fans also, there's a disease out right now called the Kawasaki disease. Do you guys know anything about it?
Actually, I don't. Do you, Austin?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Well, it's a disease, and it affects little babies' hearts. And it slows their blood, the pumping system to the blood down and makes them real tired, and it kills, quite a few babies. But for some reason, we have, in the U.S., have kept hush-hush about it. And it's called the Kawasaki disease. And I'm just saying something like my granddaughter has it now. But I want you guys, tell the fans, if they get a chance and they see something at their hospital, donation for the Kawasaki disease, or ask their doctors about it and get their kids checked for it. Because it's a disease that's growing. It's starting to grow in popularity. A lot of kids are starting to get it. And you have to have your kids checked for it because it's like, a snake in the night. You don't hear it and you don't see it until it's too late.
Definitely going to pass it on, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Please do.
If the fans want to follow or keep up with you, do you keep, obviously you do have a Facebook. Do you have a Twitter or...
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
No, I haven't got a Twitter. I haven't got a Twitter account yet, man. I'm a computer illiterate. I barely know Facebook. So until I get Facebook down pat, I won't be getting a Twitter account. So they won't contact me. They have to do it through Facebook.
Okay, that's cool. And do you, I mean, have you thought about doing, I mean, besides Twitter, maybe like Instagram or anything else like that? Or you just stick to... Go ahead. Me and my wife were talking about that the other day. My daughter was talking about Instagram the other day. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, Instagram. Well, there you go. And definitely keep track and post pictures. People like to post food or what their workout regimen is or just whatever is going on in their day.
I got a pretty good one. You heard the Nation workout thing that people are doing that I'm also doing? I do it with a friend of mine named Pete in Detroit. His name is Pete Glaswell or something. I can't remember his last name. But what it is, like me and you on the phone, we would say, okay, tomorrow we're going to do 20 sit-ups and 20 push-ups.
Okay.
And we do it 3 days. You add 5 each day, take the third day off. But we do it together. And I call you, you call me, make sure that we got it done. Kind of like a buddy system.
Oh, okay. And
I do mine with Pete Gladstone. So, you know, that's a good way to get started working out, man. Trust me. Somebody else holding you accountable besides yourself.
Have you ever heard of the DDP yoga program?
Of who?
It's called DDP Yoga, you know, Diamond Dallas Page.
I've been hearing nothing but good things about that.
Yes, sir. It's been doing wonders for some of the guys like Jake Roberts and Scott Hall, and
that's what I hear.
Yeah.
No, you saw the fans that on my Facebook are doing it, and they have nothing but praise for. I've never heard of a program with so much praise.
You know, if you hook up with DDP, I'm sure he can do something, cut you a deal or something, or do wonders for you too.
I might have to do that, see if I can contact him. Man, my wonder was all I had to do is pass Burger King and McDonald's and Oreo cookies and not eat them. That's all I had to do. Shit, I had that, boy. I couldn't pass it without stopping. I'm telling you, I'm a Whopper man. Give me a double cheese Whopper any day.
It's a pretty intense yoga workout, but I mean, it does wonders. People have lost some good weight and they feel better. I mean, especially with the wrestlers. I mean, DDP broke his neck in 2002 and started doing yoga, and you know, it allowed him to get a lot more of his flexibility back, and he was able to move again. He actually got back in the ring a couple of years later. I'm
gonna have to check that out, brother, and see. Get back to you guys, let you guys know how that worked.
Absolutely. Austin, do you have any other questions for Mr. Johnson?
No, I would just definitely want to say I have much respect for everything you've done. I want to definitely see you hopefully back in the ring pretty time, you know, soon, because you know you are a big inspiration.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate that, brother. I'm working on it,
Sir.
guys.
We definitely want to hear when you're back in the ring, sir. Definitely. We'll definitely post it up and let people know what's going on.
Hey, you guys are doing something for us to know. I promise you.
We look forward to it. And on behalf of Austin and myself, Mr. Ahmed Johnson, we thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to sit down and chat with us about your time as a professional wrestler and, above anything else, how much you loved your fans and still do.
Thank you, brother.
You have yourself a good night.
No, you too. You too, Austin.
Thank you. Good night, man.
Bye-bye.